Hey guys, it's Penguin here, and welcome back to another gold making video. To celebrate 2022 and the start of the new year, I wanted to make a little fun video, and I'm going to be giving 22 tips to start out this year. Now, all of these tips are going to be related to gold making, so some of these might be like TSM tip related, some of them might be how to get into certain markets, my suggestions for 9.2, etc, etc. Basically, all of these should just give you a little bit of help, and possibly you will learn something that you did not even know existed. So I hope you guys enjoy this style of video. I really wanted to do something pretty cool for the start of the new year, and let me know if you have any additional tips for beginners out there who are starting their gold making journey. But without further ado, we are going to get right into this. If you guys haven't already, I highly recommend joining the Discord down below. If you want to join our community, that is where you're going to get notifications about me going live, because I am streaming once again and all of that good stuff. It's just a great place to hang out and ask your questions if you want to. But thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope you enjoy. So tip number 1 is that TSM has a built-in posting macro. If you guys do not know what this is, if you go into your TSM settings, there is a macro setting which you can choose what type of buttons and what type of mouse scroll wheel you want and what action it completes. I personally use this when posting and canceling to save myself time, and doing this whenever you're also crafting in a big queue can be very beneficial. Just make sure, if you are using this macro, that your mouse is not on a window and it's just in the middle of the screen, or it will not work. By default, TSM leaves out auction house crafting on your gathering list. This basically means, let's say you can buy 10 desolate leather to create a heavy desolate leather, and that will save you gold. TSM will not register that as a choice by default because auction house crafting is left off that list. If you want, you can go in and modify it and set it up to exactly you want. Mine will currently be on screen, but there's plenty of different ways that you can set this up, and I highly recommend playing around with it. Novice gear is still selling super well, and if you've either stopped or you have not sold this gear, you really should. Novice gear is still the best in slot for fresh level 50s, so the brand new characters coming into Shadowlands. So even though this is technically an old recipe, and it's literally learned by the trainer, it is still selling super well, and I always recommend everybody to sell it in their stock. If you guys haven't experimented with it yet, I highly recommend adding crafting operations and using the TSM restock function. If you guys haven't tested that out, it is super beneficial and time saving, especially if you try to restock multiple professions at once, or you're just having to sell a lot of items. It definitely keeps track of what you need, what you currently have, and it does it all for you. If you guys are currently selling Shadowlands items, especially legendaries or even just novice gear, any type of item from Shadowlands, make sure you are buying vendor items for the cheapest amount of gold possible. If you guys are buying your vendor items at Oribos, you are doing this wrong. Either you can be exalted with the Kyrian and then you can buy cheap vendor materials at Heroes Rest, or you can be exalted with the Night Fae and purchase super cheap materials at the Heart of the Forest. Either way, this will save you a ton of gold, and also if you do not have reputation, you can definitely port a goblin into Shadowlands and buy cheap materials that way. 9.2 is all about legendaries. Legendaries are going to be a huge market with the new rank 7s, and a lot of people are saving up for that. If you guys are interested, I highly recommend getting into the market, but even if you do not want to, stockpiling materials to flip to the legendary sellers will be a great way to make gold as well. For example, all of the legendaries from blacksmithing and jewelry crafting will need Shadowghast ingots, so stocking up on those green ores like Phaedrum or Silver will definitely pay off whenever you can sell it to a premium during 9.2. If you guys are manually mailing items without a mailing operation in TSM and you have a very large number of it, if you hold shift as you click send, it will keep the name in the toolbar. This is super awesome because it saves you a few seconds of having to retype the name every single time. If you are looking to expand into multi-realm gold making, or you just want to play around with different realms, I highly recommend using pets. The best thing about this is that pets are able to be sent across realm because all you have to do is learn it, it'll be in your journal, then you can cage it on another realm, and it's just a great way to send over value. By default, TSM uses market value in order to calculate crafting cost. So unless you have adjusted custom price sources or you have changed the default crafting method, TSM is utilizing that average market value. So depending on your min buyout, you might be making more profit or losing profit on your crafts. However, if you ever manually, calculate crafting cost and it's a little bit different from TSM, that is the reason. If you guys are just new to Shadowlands or new to gold making, a very, very easy entry-level market is definitely Shadowlands enchants. They are very cheap and they sell very, very fast. If you think about it, every time somebody gets a new upgraded piece of gear, if it was already enchanted before, they have to go out and buy a new enchant for that piece of gear. I personally use this profession on all of my new starting realms and still to my main realm today. Going along with that, cancel scanning can increase your gold by a ton. I know a lot of people do not want to sit on the auction house all day, and you really don't have to, but even 2 to 3 times a day more than what you're doing now can increase your gold by a lot. Let's say you play 3 hours a day, and you only want to, post that first 10 minutes or so that you're on. Maybe every single hour, take a second and maybe 5 minutes, cancel scan, repost, and you should see an increase of gold. Definitely on the very high population servers, this is going to benefit you a lot. If you do want to see very big change on a high pop during your high times, maybe take 15 minutes or 30 minutes in cancel scan and you will see a big improvement. If you guys are crafting Crafter's Mark's gear and you do not have the Shadow Lace Cloak yet, I highly recommend it. You need Honored with the Maldraxxus Covenant, and then all you have to do is purchase it from the Quartermaster, and it is just one of the best selling tailoring pieces. Also, if you are a leatherworker, the Heavy Desolate Armor Kits are the best armor kit currently, and once again, you do need Honored with the Arden Wield or the Wild Hunt. Getting into old world markets can be very daunting. I mean, there are so many expansions, there are so many professions, and a ton of items. It can be very scary, but I highly recommend focusing on one and maybe even a type of item if that helps you out. For example, I always recommend old world enchanting because it's simple. All you have to do is level up the expansion and then just craft everything you can. So you don't have to worry about if it's a transmog that looks nice, if it's fake value, anything like that. Enchants are awesome. Also, you can go a different route with mounts. Let's say you have an engineer, you can go farm the Mechanohog, you can go farm up the BFA engineering mounts, you can also create the flying machine from vanilla, and all these things. Also, of course, you have the Sky Golem. So you can also focus on old world mounts, and that will bring in some pretty good profit as well. To save you guys time, I highly recommend hard coding vendor prices into your crafting reports. Every time WoW has a hotfix or just a mini update, TSM forgets vendor prices and will not remember them until you open up that vendor. So a lot of people do not notice this issue because, you're always buying arboreal shards or penumbra thread. However, it's very common with curing salt. Since you don't buy a ton of it or need a ton of it, TSM easily forgets that price and creates very, very weird profit margins. So taking the time to go in there and hard set it to that vendor value can definitely benefit you in the long run. By default, TSM does not have correct milling or prospecting values. There are plenty of places where you can get this. I highly recommend Koya's video. That is personally what I'm using. You can just look up Koya, TSM, prospecting and milling, and it will probably be the first video set up, but he just gives you a ton of custom price sources and walks you through how to fix this. Also, Mantheus also has his own set of custom price sources, and I also have an external spreadsheet if that's something you want as well. If you guys are getting into stockpiling, whether that's for 9.2 or just anything in general, and possibly you're running out of space, I highly recommend making guild banks. You can easily make a guild by just asking people to sign. I've asked people, either like 250 gold all the way up to 1,000 gold, and you only need a few signatures, so you should be paying no more than 5k. And of course, once you create the guild, just make sure you kick those random people so they don't accidentally take it over if you go AFK for a few months. But after that, all you have to do is upgrade the guild bank slots, and you have a ton of more storage for whatever you're crafting or stockpiling. I personally have a ton of these. If you make them unique, so one is for cloth, ores, leatherworking, etc., it can help you with organization. Speaking of banks, TSM has a very hard time tracking non-reagent banks. What I mean by this is if you open your personal character bank, you have the reagent tab and then you have the bag slots. TSM correctly tracks the reagent bank, however has a very hard time tracking the normal bag slots, bank slots. So I highly recommend, if you store materials into there, checking and loading the bank frequently by just opening it on that character to make sure you have updated numbers on how much materials you truly have. If you leave it sitting for a while, and let's say you have lightless silk in there, TSM may say that you have 5k silk when really you only have 50. If you guys have not done it already, I highly recommend getting Katie's stamp whistle. It is a Legion toy, which basically is just a portable mailbox, which is very useful because it can save you trips from the mailbox if you are, let's say, in Orgrimmar and you do not want to run from auction house to mailbox, or you purchase something off of somebody's longboy or your own longboy and you need to pick up that mail right away. It's also great for the farmers out there who have a bag full of transmog and they can place that, send it off, and continue farming. Once again, it is a Legion toy, which comes from a fun minigame and questline, so I highly recommend doing that. It should only take maybe 30 minutes to an hour. As you guys are learning professions, I highly recommend grouping your gathering professions together. A lot of people, let's say, group skinning with leatherworking because that makes sense. The skinner can go get leather, which they can craft with, but then you have the issues of being efficient. For example, let's say you have mining and herbalism together instead of mining and blacksmithing. You can go out and farm obsidian ore, and that route also intersects with Ajar's Veil, so basically you're farming two things for one. So it's a great way to increase your productivity and your gold per hour. Also, I highly recommend grouping your armor professions together, especially if you're doing crafter's marks or legendaries. Legendaries require grinds for vestiges, and the crafter's marks require reputation, so to save you those grinds, if you group, let's say, tailoring and blacksmithing, and then jewelry crafting and leatherworking, then you don't have to worry about doing it 4 times, you only have to do it twice. If you are somebody who plays on multiple computers like me, for example, I have my desktop and I also have a laptop, I highly recommend getting TSM Premium. It is very cheap at about $25 for the year, and it backs up your TSM profiles and data through the cloud. This means that all you have to do is, let's say I go onto my laptop, I make sure to restore the backup that is saved in the cloud, and then I am good to go. I don't have to worry about transferring files or anything like that. Also, this video is your reminder to make backups of your interface and your WTF folders. Both of these are necessary for your add-ons, and if you ever have a corrupted file with WoW, or just something goes wrong where your add-ons disappear or revert back to default, having backups can save you so much time and can save your game experience. I try my best to back up every month, or every time I do a big add-on update, let's say I change my UI or something, I will make sure to create backups. So if you haven't already, this is your reminder to do so. And lastly, tip 22 is to just have fun. A lot of people come into the Discord or ask the question, what is the best way to make gold, what is the best farm, etc. And honestly, it's the way that you find enjoyment. A lot of people grind out gold making for a few days or a few weeks and then they get burnt out because they're just doing the stuff that makes the most gold, or they think that makes the most gold and it's not really what they enjoy. For example, if you are doing a ton of crafting, but you really just want to go out there and test your RNG with transmog, go and do that. If you are sitting there farming days and hours at a time, but you really want to get into crafting, just get into crafting and stop farming. You can save yourself a ton of time by avoiding that burnout by just doing what you have fun. And of course, if you are doing gold making and it does not become fun anymore, take a break. That's the best thing you can do. But guys, that is my 22 tips to start out the year 2022. I hope you enjoyed. I hope you learned something. Let me know in the comments down below if you have any other tips. But thank you guys so much for watching. And of course, have a good day.